It's 8:05 in St. Kitts Nevis. We are Island Tea, and we are pleased to welcome to the team our newest member. I'm talking about Siobhan. And I got AZ in the house. In case you're wondering, Kortensia is going to be off for a little bit, just a short bit. So we've got some awesome female energy with Siobhan. Good morning. What's up?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, good morning to everybody. I'm trusting and hoping that everyone is having a wonderful, it's Tuesday morning, and we are here live in the studio at WINNFM, and we have with us Siobhan Richards, and she is from Sandy Point. You know how they like to say SP. Jamster, SP, finish it for me.
SP, where the breadfruit factory is.
Yes, they often say SP were the best be. So we'll see. We'll see. So we have
I know,
some
I'm just playing, of course.
SP energy in here. And I often say, you know, that my father, he grew up in Sandy Point, and yes, and you know, some parts of Newton as well too. But you know, so I do connect with Sandy Pointers as well. So we're here, and it has been quite an interesting evening. If you look at some of the news regionally, even internationally, even here locally, I have seen, and I'm seeing NHC Chevy, I'm seeing NHC put out the videos about the model home, and so a lot of persons have been commenting. I have my own comments as it relates to them, and so if there are other persons out there, tell us how you feel about the home. The home has been constructed, the smart home, and the home that is, you know, has been done by the East Coast. A lot of talk has been circulating around these housing, around the developers or the contractors of these homes. And so, you know, it's very interesting, and we have one already completed. Photos are being taken, and we have videos being circulated. And when I say completed, I said completed in the fact, let me tailor what I said, because I'm only seeing from the outside. I don't know if inside is completed because I haven't seen any videos of the inside. So from the outside, it looks completed. So from the outside, at least, you know, because I haven't seen any inside capture. So you know, I haven't seen any inside captures. I can't say that they're completed just yet without a statement by NHC or anything other than that. Yes. So how you feeling? How is everything for you?
I'm good. It's a new year still. I know it's February now, but the new year feeling is still very fresh for me, and I'm doing good. And I'm glad that the home has been, at least the outside, as you said, has been completed. We have no idea what the interior is. I'm not sure if they come with fittings like cupboards and stuff like that. I heard smart, so I'm waiting to see what the smart, you know, if it lives up to my idea of what smart is.
Yes.
But I've seen the pictures online. It looks typical of a low income house. The design is pretty similar. You know, the door was nice.
Yeah, I like the door.
I'm a person who likes doors and modern looking doors, you know. But I've seen it, and I think a lot of people will have a better idea, because I think there was some uncertainty as to what exactly to expect, because when you see it on a mock-up, it's still
trust
different.
me, sometimes when you see the markup, as you say, or you see the design, or they got a fancy word for it. I can't remember it right now. I think the rendering. Yes. When you see the rendering of it, and you're amazed. And then when you see the actual work, it's like when you go online, and persons like to tease all the time, you know, looking at something online versus when it's actually here and when you wear it.
Especially if you're ordering from some of these Chinese sites.
One time I ordered from a Chinese site, and I got the things, look at a deal. When they came back so small.
Oh gosh,
couldn't fit me at all. Yeah, so I understand
you too?
Yes.
Not me, my wife ordered stuff for
When
me,
I-
and
when-
stuff's too small. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like when I was younger, like, in my early 20s, I saw this and I was like, oh, they had a lot of cool things for a lot of, cheaper prices. And I ordered.
Half the price for half the size.
Well, I knew why it was half the price because it's half the size. So yes, I am looking, and again, the only thing, again, persons like to say, we for me, I'm happy that homes are being done, homes are being constructed, persons need homes. That is important, that's necessary, that's what we should advocate for, government providing homes for its people, affordable homes as much as possible. But my only criticism, and it came to that, is the timeline that they gave is the unrealistic promises. When they said at first they will do 600 in 1 year, they will do the model homes in about a couple months, and we've seen that since that. And the first talk about these homes was in March. I think it was in March 2023 when the first official press release had been done around that time. And we're almost March 24, and only one home has been built in that first and that model home. And during that time, in that release, they indicated that 600 would have been built in that same year. And so we only have one so far, the model homes, grateful, but it's just to tailor expectations and to ensure that when government and government agencies are making promises, we know you're excited, but please be realistic within them, within those promises. So, of course, hopefully, as it goes along, more homes are built, more, for the people, because this is what NHC is there for. The only another criticism I would have seen persons making is the fact, that you have to be bankable. And so what is the does that go towards what NHC is there for? And so that is the whole concept of low income homes, and the whole concept of the what NHC is there for. Because if those persons were bankable, then they would have already gone to a bank. Yes. So those are some of the criticisms.
I totally understand. And I mean, I guess it's always a balance, economics versus, the social benefit of projects.
Definitely.
And so, like, I personally feel that nobody wants to start off a thing being too controversial.
Yes.
But, like, I personally feel that, the responsibility of these two things lies not just on the government, which, of course, it does, but us, the people.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, financial literacy and understanding how these things work is something that I think we as a people really need to educate ourselves on, and not always just be moved by the promises,
And also, too, when you get this home, it's a home that has been provided at a lower cost for you to pay towards. So it's not, for the most part, it's not a free home. It's a more reduced cost home that would ensure that you're able to meet monthly obligations and still have, a home that you could rest. And so persons, the owners and the citizens as well, to ensure that they comply with their monthly obligation, their mortgages, and that they pay towards the upkeep and ensuring that they,
Well, what I find with homes, right, generally, like when I heard smart homes, I was really excited first, rather said, because my concept of it is like we're moving into the future, like things that imply alternate sources of power, natural sources of power, renewable sources, solar, stuff like that. Not just in that way too, but also in the type of materials that we use, because a lot of the times it's the materials that cost the price of the houses to be so high. So I'm like, in the Caribbean, it just baffles me that there is so much technology and new types of materials out there, and we seem totally oblivious to them. So when we say things like low income homes, I feel like we're just saying it as a God, I don't even want to say the word gimmick. But I feel like even us as the citizens, we have to educate ourselves and ask more for what we want. We can't assume that, and I've gotten here over this last year, we can't assume that a group of people, what's right for a whole nation. So I'm like, there's so many materials out there that are stronger, more environmentally friendly, and are more affordable. So that if we look into these materials and start utilizing some of them, India. I don't feel so bad. We have so much Indian nationals here. India is like a hotbed of innovation when it comes to different construction materials. And we're not taking an example. Then we could really say it's a low income home.
Yeah, and I like what you say, even though we might empower and we might vote for a number of persons, those are representatives. At the end of the day, consultation is important, to coming back to the people, having consultation, having talk, and to see where, because no man is an island, and no one has a monopoly on ideas.
Exactly.
So it's just to ensure that ensure that again, conversation is necessary, and it's a learning process. And again, kudos, something is being done, homes are being constructed, but my only criticism is don't give people too high expectations that you can't deliver just for it because it sounds good. And so again, yeah, but the marketing could fall out into misrepresentation if you don't do it correctly. So it's marketing, and then we have to look what it is.
Responsible marketing. I understand. I agree totally as well. Because then it doesn't benefit you even as the politician, because you know how Kittian, how Caribbean people are. Like, that's not what you say. That's not what you say. And we expect a whole lot. And
exactly.
It just creates all this lot of confusion. And I personally feel a lot of this side of stuff, like if they would do it properly, like you said, then we would have space for bigger discussions and things that are more pressing, instead of having a lot of these ningy-nangy kind of arguments over details that should have been well thought out, as you said.
Yeah, definitely. And so those are some things we'll continue to monitor to see what's happening in terms of the housing. One home seems, if not completed, almost completed, in the fact that we've seen videos of the outside but have not seen any videos of the interior. So I don't know, because you could put up a little shell. You don't know if everything is done inside. Yeah, so it's still for it to be seen.
Like they've done anything. Let's see the interior.
Yeah.
Let's see the smartness.
Yes. So another thing that I saw happening, and this is something in Guyana, and teachers have been striking in Guyana, and they have they're putting up resistance because they are asking for an increase in salary. So teachers begin nationwide strike in Guyana. Yeah. So the Guyana Teachers Union Monday said that it is assessing the response to its call for a general strike to press demands for increased salaries for teachers. So the industrial action comes at a time when students are preparing for the National Grade 6 Assessment Examination and the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate Examination. Imagine having a strike as a student of these schools, knowing that your teachers are on strike and you have to prepare for your grade 6 examination and your CSEC examination, and the teachers are nowhere to be found. Yes.
Well, the CSEC one sweating, those for grade 6, like, yes. But I understand but then again,
they
have to do these things at moments when it matters.
Yeah, that's true too. Because
striking when nothing happening, they're like, whatever.
They'll be quicker, more easily ignored.
Yes.
So if you do it at a time that they need you most, the response will be quicker.
Quite different. And then we'll see the importance of teachers, because I think we forget a lot. There's a lot of talk about teachers are so important, but yet there is little to show, as far as appreciation of them. So and Guyana is a huge place. So nationwide, that takes some organization and so forth. So I don't want to say kudos to the teachers because the children are suffering, but let's hope that they can sort this out quickly.
Yes, no problem. Indeed. And if you look at the article, you'll go down further. It says that here it says that the Guyana Teachers Union President Dr. Mark Light told the online publication, the Mara Waves online news, after the police said that they received reports indicating that persons are being intimidated and threatened. It says that, but Light said, I am not aware of any threats issued by the GTU to teachers. And he says, prior to the industrial action, Chief Education Officer Saddam Hussein warned that teachers who went on strike, their actions would be illegal. And so in this quote, it says, to be clear, the Ministry of Education has received advice from the Ministry of Labor, the experts on this issue, that conditions for strike action have not been met, as a result of which any strike would be wholly illegal and unlawful. He said in an open letter to all head teachers and teachers. He also said, if teachers heed the strike call, students' preparation for the National Grade 6 Assessment and Caribbean Secondary Education examination could be affected now and in the long term. Goes on to say, I quote, the threat of industrial action sets a bad precedence since this is the final term before the national exam and the CSEC examinations. Any disruption to teaching learning process could affect individual children, their future, thereby hampering the ability for families to use education to exit poverty. End of quote. Serious words there.
Guilt trip there,
So he goes on, the article goes on to say the union has been told that industrial action by the teachers is in violation of the memorandum of agreement signed between the union and the Ministry of Education. Chief Labor Officer said that the grievance procedure has not been exhausted and that had he declined the union's response for the matter to go to arbitration, as there was an attempt to breach the grievance procedure. In fact, I remember a case in relation to that, where it is that I think it was a Trinidadian case. The same thing when it comes to industrial actions and striking. Because they have the industrial court, their procedures are a bit different, in which the court would have determined at one point in time that they would have to exhaust the procedures first. And if it had not been exhausted or if they had been ignored, then there would be cause for action. So when you see those this language being used, it's because of consideration and holding of the court before in previous situations such as these. And he says in a statement on Sunday night, Education Minister said that the government has satisfied 25 of the 41 benefits that had been requested by the GTU, along with 28 others that the Education Ministry did on its own to improve the lives, capacity, and professional standing of teachers.
So who decides when discussions or negotiations have been exhausted, though?
Well, that's a question. I know based on that case, it was the matter had to be brought to a specific authority, and if that authority had failed to do anything, then they could go on from there. Yeah.
Because I'm just seeing the people frustrated, like, this ain't going nowhere, end the discussion. And not to take it off of school, but like a similar thing has happened with TikTok. I don't know if you're familiar with the social media platform, but them and Universal Records have been butting heads. You know that TikTok uses a lot of music and different things.
Yes.
And I personally think it has been really good for the music industry, because when you have these challenges, a song can blow up overnight with millions of views.
I actually talked about that on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the items we discussed last week. But Azard isn't interested in that stuff. It's non-stop politics.
I watch a little TikTok videos, jam stuff.
I don't even know what TikTok is.
I have a TikTok app. Not that I use it often, but I do have a TikTok app. So in case there's videos, I could look at it, you know?
But it affects so much more, because social media has become so much more than just fun. It's like where a lot of people, millions of people make their living and really good money as well. So when you can't utilize the sounds, and even artists are scared because Like even Shensia trying to put up herself singing her own song, and it's being flagged and taken down because Universal is like, we can't get what we want. We've been having discussions, we put in heads, and we just take down with music. Don't play with music.
Oh, wow.
And so we're waiting to see what's going to happen, you know? So these sort of things are always, I find it kind of exciting because in the end, a solution has to be
found. The thing about it, and as you look at these situations, you think about the law, and the law has to develop to meet the present realities, and that's why law change. And
it
that's
has
why
to evolve.
Yeah, that's why law is so dynamic, because
Exactly.
what we might be used to in the past, we now have to realize that things change.
We ourselves change.
Exactly, and technology now has impacted the application of law and would impact the way in which laws are written to ensure. For example, before when we look at a matter when it comes to defamation, you have the elements, meaning that the statement must be defamatory, it must refer to the individual, and it must be communicated to a third party other than the person. And then you look at how could you determine sometimes when you have these fake profiles and so many profiles, who's behind it? How could you trace it? All kind of things like that. And so you realize that now the law has to develop in a certain way, and that's why you have Electronic Crimes Act, and that's why you have all kind of things developing to try to address and arrest the problem. You understand?
And these platforms are going to be like huge players in even how the law is shaped, because now you have to force them to hand over information, but they're telling you where we're obligated to our clients and keeping their information
so again
private.
you see the need, and at the end of the day, some persons think lawyers are bad people. We aren't bad people, At the end of the day, people are people.
Yes.
And when I say people, I mean the one in the room over there.
I heard him yesterday.
Lawyers are bad people.
So same there. So when you look at that, and you look at the end of the day, when it comes to law, and law is at the grand scheme of things. When I look at it, the purpose of law is for peace, order, and maintenance of that peace and order. You understand? And so to ensure that in everything that we do, there is some sort of order.
Yes.
So we know exactly what is to be done and what's not to be done.
And to ensure that people stick to it and not change their mind every 2 minutes.
Exactly. Certainty of contract, and obligation and all of that. Yeah. So that's something that is happening in Guyana. I don't know if persons want to call, they could weigh in on that topic of their of their choice.
And the teachers here getting any ideas?
We don't have. I don't think we have said legislation like that. So if teachers want to, it might be a little bit different over here. Might be a little different over here. So
okay, we have let's take this call.
Yes.
Island T, you're on here.
Hey, morning, guys.
Hey, morning, Carl. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad for my age.
Wonderful. That is good news.
Guys, I want to touch on two little quick things concerning the houses, them. The question is, we have not have the full capacity of our power station, electricity.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you all have heard the minister say we only doing about 27, 29, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So, and then you see we have the large problem year after year of water shortage. Nobody's looking into these to matter, but yet we keep putting down thousands and hundreds of houses a year. Because we're not only looking at NHC, around the villages and community, lots of houses being built unnoticed.
Okay.
So the question is, when are we going to increase our capacity in the electricity, and can our capacity now host, say, these people admit the amount of houses for the year that they said 600. Now imagine the company put down 600 all those other independent houses that is building up and down, could the capacity of generating electricity host all of that? That's a question nobody looking into. The other question is, we are here scrambling and squeezing. We now reach so low that we have to import tanks to go around to give out to people, hoping on rain, where we see no rain is coming, and try to set up these tanks to get them full, but yet we want to build 2,400 houses. Well, you know, that's going to be maybe in about 3 years, 4 years. But what about all the other houses that is being building? Where are we going to get the water to supply all of these houses and the electricity? Yes, I see everybody silent because nobody's thinking about that.
We're here and we are pondering on your question, Carl.
Yes.
And of course, the relevant authority would be, we're hoping that they're listening as well. That is what we're here, why we're silent. Not that we haven't been pondering on the same, having the same thoughts as well, Carl.
And remember, we also breaking ground, say hotel is coming. You know, hotel take a lot of capacity of electricity.
And also water and everything else.
Water again. Now we are talking about desalination plant, but you know that is only could go so much for lawn and grass and flowers and them kind of thing. What about drinking capacity for thousands of guests?
And these are considerations because when you look at our water supply and where we are now, is because of our increased population, is because the increased consumption. And you know, if you have, even if the source is the same as it was before, even if it were, I'm not saying that it is, if you increase the demand, the supply will have to increase as well.
Oh yes. One other quick thing, with the guys, one of these morning we're gonna have to discuss ship cruise tourism, because what I find is happening is that we are boasting all these hundreds of thousands, million plus cruise passengers is coming here. But what is happening now, guys? The ship have everything now that we have on land. So the people on the land is not making any money. So what is the reason we bringing the ship here to say we get 600 or 800 cruise ship come here for the year? But who get the money? Just the government making money now per head.
Because there is the head tax that cruise passengers would have to pay. And that is, I had that discussion earlier. And who really benefits, and you know,
the shops and bars ain't making nothing. The craft vendors, the taxi people now making very less now.
But can you see,
still increasing the amount of taxi personnel.
And when you start to ask questions like these, you become the enemy rather than trying to understand and to say, guys, yes, we're not saying that having ships here aren't a good thing, but if the ships here don't have a spill-off effect whereby the workers and the economy can feel the benefit of having the ships,
can feel the benefit, then and the common business people on the ground have to feel that, not just the government for the head tax.
I had that discussion.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to cut down on cruise tourism and put more resources and more interest into ELF.
And we probably, and again, we'll have to look at other avenues as well.
Competing with on the ground personnel, if want to bring the people here, so you could make money. But the cruise ship gone everything now. They gone art and craft, they gone t-shirt, they gone everything. They even gone children park. So how are we going to we're making no money, we ain't doing nothing. Gone, guys.
And the more amenities on the ship, the less likely you are to leave the ship. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. So
and the ship people supposed to come off so the nation could benefit from it.
Yes.
Gone.
Carl, very, very good questions. And, you know, these are the things that we have to consider. And we hope that those in power would also consider them as well.
Okay, 8:34, new call. Caller, go right ahead.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to everybody.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, welcome back, man. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Yes, happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy making some great contributions, man.
Yes.
I always wonder, man, if there's somebody listening to these talk shows that can grab some ideas from the callers, man. Because the callers be doing really good with the ideas and stuff.
They really have
But
been.
Cruz. Well, I saw a clip with a minister down in Angola. I don't know if you got access to that clip at all, Azard. And it's a lady. She's a minister, I think, in government down there. She was talking about the cruise tourism, and she's concerned about the tourist, the cruise product, because that's definitely evolving. You know what I'm saying? And the money's not trickling down to the local guys, the taxi drivers, them at all, like how it used to be before. So even the taxi drivers themselves, they got to adapt. You know what I'm saying? Because like we see when the cruise boats come through the Caribbean, in my opinion, they're only going to be coming through and soaking up the sun and leaving. You know, few or less few persons are going to be coming ashore. These boats got a lot of attractions on them now, man. And ashore, we're going to have to, have some type of something different and unique to bring these people ashore and to make them spend or to get them to spend. You know what I mean? But definitely, they're spending less and less, and the money's not trickling down like it used to be before. So we definitely got to look at that, and then we're gonna have to bring other discussions in the mix. Agriculture and diversifying the economy and stuff like that. But real quick, man, talking about the electricity and the strain that's going to be put on the grids, electricity and water. My concern is like, they made some announcements that they're going to be rolling out that 110. And, the 110, it doesn't seem like it's rolling out fast enough because, here I am putting down a project in Nevis, and I still got to go wait for that 110 to get down in my area. You know what I mean? And yes, I can wire up my house in the 110 and wait to make that transformation, but anybody building a new house, they should have access to that 110, or the rollout need to be a little bit more faster. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever thought about that, but different than that, the MSR Media thing, to me, has a big discussion going on with MSR Media. They're able to come into Sinkis and bought a hotel, and I believe that hotel that they bought down there in Sinkis, OTI, that hotel should have been offered up to the locals. They got local persons there that got a lot of money, and they got entities there that could have surely bought that hotel out. Now they got the hotel down there just locked up, and ain't nobody making no money off of it. No locals is not making the money off of it. Not even nobody's is not up and running. So not even somebody can't even get in there and be a housekeeper or a maid or a cook. You know what I'm saying? And the government needs to look at that, man. And concerning that, before I go real quick, as you was talking about songs and stuff like that, my question is, those movies that they make locally there, who are going to have ownership rights to those movies going forward? Because now there's a movie named The Island that's playing on Stars, and it's getting a lot of publicity. And that movie made there in Nevis named The Island. I know Jam still like to look at these movies. You can check this out if you never did yet. The Island, it was cut there in Sinkis and Nevis. It was made there in Sinkis and Nevis by MSR. It's now playing on Stars. And it's getting a lot of publicity. So what I want to ask is the locals, the island, the Federation, Sinkis and Nevis, what type of arrangement they got with the MSR Media, and how much money they're going to be making off of these movies, and who got the rights to the movies going forward.
Very good question.
Yeah, but I need to stop you there because you can't, just because a movie is shot in a particular locale, you can't just, you can't claim rights to the movie. That doesn't make any sense.
But I get what he's saying in the sense that
I'm just putting for the question, though. That's all.
What benefit?
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, this is because of the situation where we have in this situation we had I want to say a whole production being done on the island. I think his question more so is, was there any benefit for us? And of course they came, and I'm sure they you see them with the government officials. So they didn't just come and not discussing things with or being seen with government officials. So I think his question is fair. If you're going to see, because if they came on their own and you didn't see them with government officials, then you could say, okay, then they're wholly and partly by themselves and whatever. But the fact that you see them with government officials and government talking about it, and these officials talking about it, I think it's a fair question that he asked.
Okay, 8:40. Let's take another call before the break. Caller, go right ahead.
Hey, good morning, Jamster. I asked you a favor of you. I was to call Mr. Abel yesterday. I tried calling this said number. He told me I must call him after the program was finished. But I tried calling this number, but I wasn't getting no answer. If you could please forward this number to him for me, I'd be very grateful. 764-7117. Thanks. Respect.
Okay.
Okay. So yes. That just yes.
Well, as far as like rights, as Jamster would have said, it brings into mind copyright and so forth and so forth. What I think the government would have to do, though, is to negotiate benefits. If you're gonna come and you're gonna soak up our, great scenes and so forth, how can we partner, and then it also mean the government would have to pay attention to me, the talent in society. If you have something like film and you have local filmmakers and so forth, it's not always just having people come in and film. What about having, that connection where you have local filmmakers or actors and then they can now connect or collaborate with producers outside or what's not, and really push St. Kitts as a destination, not just that, well, just come here and use our sand and our beaches, but we have human resources too.
The production in Nevis, when they came, they would have used a lot of locals for extras and stuff like that, because they had bar scenes, beach scenes, and a lot of locals were involved in being the extras. Of course, I think a lot will go in terms of acting and those kind of things. I think they already would have selected their actors, the main actors and stuff like that, and then they came. So locals got involved in the more like the extras, like if you at the bar, you just see some random person, those kind of roles.
Course,
But I get what you're saying. Going forward, a long-term plan.
Well, speaking about actors, I find that a lot of these film companies don't go far enough to tap local talent when they're doing movies in these parts of the world. Take, for example, the new Bob Marley movie. Bob Marley is played by Kingsley Benadir, a British guy. And you're trying to tell me Jamaica is a country with 3 million people, right? With a drama school and everything. You're trying to tell me they couldn't find one person to play Bob Marley? And when you consider that, more likely than not, that one person would be intimately familiar with Bob Marley and the Jamaican culture and basically the culture that created Bob Marley. So I have a big problem with that. So, I mean, if they didn't do it for Jamaica, I mean, I don't know how much traction we will get in terms of getting any meaningful let's say roles in some of these movies.
Well, I think for some of these movies too, they go on bankability as well, who the actor is, who he can bring in, but also connections. Is he affiliated with this production company that has he done films with the producer or the director before? So I always say, like, Jamaica, again, you have an acting school, you have stuff like that. This, just like how the guy said, we have to diversify. We have to understand that we have such a rich cultural heritage. We are a melting pot. And to have persons always come in and use us as inspiration, and we're not seeing the inspiration in ourselves. So why does it take so long? Why does a European company or production company have to do a film on Bob Marley? Why aren't there Jamaican documentaries and a Jamaican film on Bob Marley? So it's like, why do we wait until people to come in to tell our stories, which they can never really tell? Why isn't some of the money being pushed into these other avenues? Jamaica is a very creative place.
And someone was even saying that they're surprised that they didn't use one of his grandsons or even one of his sons, because they look a lot alike, they sound alike,
But in
and-
actuality, though, when we have, I mean, with looking at it, because I know what you mean, I saw it advertised. We were looking at it from because it's home. But when we look at films that are done and produced, you know, otherwise, they don't necessarily use family relatives, family.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in this case, you could argue there is a vast pool of. I mean, this guy's genes were off the charts, 11 out of 10. I mean, in terms of
No, he was
his
really,
kids and his grandkids sounding like him and looking like him. I mean, so that's a good argument. I take your point, but the other thing is, I feel like stories that biopic type stories where it's based on. I don't think the bankability thing is necessarily a good argument. Meaning saying, oh, we have to find some. I mean, how many people know who Kingsley Ben-Adir is unless they're really.
We might be huge in.
No, compared to some other people. Let's say they had used Ziggy Marley.
But then,
and what they could have done is, to me, they could have done is you could use Steve Marley for part. You could have used Ziggy Marley for another part.
We're thinking of it because it's close to home. Let's look at something like, I'm going to just use a random production. Look at it like The Crown. There's a show on Netflix called The Crown where they depict royalty and stuff like that. They're not using, when they depict the queen, the kings, and so they're not using their relatives. They're using persons.
No. You're getting fixated on the relative thing. I was just saying that was one of the arguments, one of the critiques I saw of the movie.
No, but then
which I thought, but that doesn't really apply to others.
Well, why should it be a critique at all?
What do you mean?
If it is that normally when you do movies that depict certain characters,
you go by who
you go
have auditions and you go by
especially when you consider they're executive producers of the movie. I think Tough Gang International, which is Bob Marley's.
We have to understand too, right, that what we see as Bob Marley and in the Caribbean, our experience. This movie is not for us. We are not a big enough market to influence them in that way. This movie is for Bob Marley. Has a huge following in the Caucasian countries, right? And I think that our perception of Bob and their perception of Bob might be different. And I'm sure I'll go and look at the movie, but I'm sure when you look at it, it embodies everything that particular perspective or perception holds of him.
There was, I briefly saw a commentary, a kind of thing on the movie where they said that the person who played Bob Marley in the movie did a really good job. I think there was there was an interview between a station, I think in the US, and MP Lisa Hanna. I think that is what I saw it from, because I think I was looking at her Instagram page, and she's really a social media individual, and she conducted an interview with this news team outside, where she spoke about the movie, and she said that the character really did a good job in depicting the mannerisms and so about Marley. Yeah, I really should look at that. I probably could find it before show ends.
Okay, 8:40. Let's take a quick break.
No
and
problem.
Come back on Island
Yes.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Here are your horses Value Mart IGA specials.
Running January 25th to February 7th.
Now our Value Club Blue Tag specials. Ocean Spray Cranberry Raisins, $10.99. IGA Anti-Central Everyday Cocktail and Dry Roasted Peanuts, $12.99. Lender's Bagels, $12.99. Tostina's Party Pizza, $9.99. Kraft Barbecue Sauce, $7.49. Purex Liquid Detergent, $15.99. And now our very low weekly
value deals. Starter Kiss Tuna, $3.99. Hunt's Diced Tomato, $6.49. IGN Essential Everyday Mac and Cheese, $2.99. Mott's Applesauce, $13.79. Nabisco Ritz and Cheesecake Crackers, $14.99. Equal Eye Mouthwash, $10.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart, tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en
Value Mart.
You've play the online game. Now you can scratch, mark, and win with Express Cash, the new instant scratch game, and win up to $40,000. With 6 draws in each ticket, there's so many ways to win. Get your $5 Express Cash instant tickets from Caribbean Lottery agents island-wide. Caribbean Lottery.
Minutes until 9 o'clock.
Yes, so I have the little clip here. In fact, when I saw it, the headline was Meghan and Harry pose with anti-monarchist, right? So it was basically, the focus was on Meghan and Harry being in Jamaica, and then it stemmed from there. So I'm going to let it play a little while so persons can understand, and then because it's the discussion with about Mali. Okay?
Someone who was at the premiere last night, another dignitary, Lisa Hanna, is a member of parliament in Jamaica. And by the way, she has actually introduced legislation to make Bob Marley a national hero. So I want to hear how that's going and to hear how the premiere went. Joining us right now is Member of Parliament Lisa Hanna. Welcome to TMZ Live. Hey, Lisa.
Thanks. Hi, Charles. Hi, Harvey. How are you doing?
We're good. Boy, we are so excited to have you on.
Thank you.
I guess let's start with Harry and Meghan. Do you know, were you surprised when they walked in? Did you know they were coming? Why were they there?
I think not many people knew that they were coming. We saw when they arrived, basically, because Kingston, the traffic stopped. And but I think what happened is I think they're really close to Ziggy Marley, and I think perhaps that was what it was. And perhaps, and at the end of the day, you know, the Prime Minister was walking the red carpet a little before then, I saw, and I guess it would have been courteous to take a picture beside him. In Jamaica, we would say, "Uno two mix up." I think Charles understands what
Yeah, maybe. We are guilty of that. We are guilty of that from time to time.
No, but I think Jamaicans were surprised to see them, and they made their debut on the red carpet. And from all accounts, you know, they seem to have enjoyed the film, and all Jamaicans enjoyed the film. It was a very proud moment for us as Jamaicans to be at that premiere and to really see Bob's life on screen captured in such a profound and prolific and awesome way.
I want to get to the film, obviously, but I want to just one thing. See if there's any update on what is happening with Jamaica becoming an independent republic. And obviously that came to mind because seeing Harry and Meghan next to Prime Minister Holness.
Where we are now in the process is all of the kind of town hall meetings are being held with Jamaicans to identify, to hear what their views are. And basically, there will be some kind of referendum. They're also trying to fast track it, and I think there is some controversy in terms of how the government plans to do it, because some Jamaicans want it done in a particular way, but from all indications, it will appear that we will become a republic sooner rather than later if the government does what it says it's going to do.
Excellent. How was the movie? Yes, how was Kingsley as Bob?
The movie was excellent. Kingsley actually surprised us. What we would say in Jamaica, him sell off. He was good. His accent was down pat. He had Bob's rhythms and grooves and personality from what we've seen in documentaries and how Bob has been portrayed. And he did well. He really, really did well. I have to give him thumbs up.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, that was great having you on, Lisa.
No, anytime. Call me anytime.
All right.
Well, apparently Charles likes to call me anytime.
So where's that show? Well, is that a U.S. show? Or?
Yeah, it seems. I think it's a U.S. show. But I remember scrolling through and seeing it. But you know what really fascinated me? The caption is with Meghan and Harry, but the essence is them being there for the Bamali premiere. And you see, she said that he captured the essence of it and stuff like that. And again, going into the discussion about becoming a republic, Jamaica is moving alongside towards that, consultations and everything, Yeah, and talking about
consultation, something foreign to St. Kitts Nevis. Anyways,
talking about
Small
the
story.
monarch, we got news yesterday that King Charles III, he has a form of cancer, and so that really came on the news, and persons have been commenting on it, persons have been reading it and stuff like that. Yes. So, we wish him well, and hopefully he will be in, good strength. Is that
you really mean that, or you just being a politician?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, he's an individual. He's a person, and we owe it to have that common humanity. He's a person. Yeah.
All I'm hearing is like, I rest in my head going, Bon.
I'll keep my true thoughts to myself.
Yeah, but these kind of things, it just shows us. It shows us that regardless of who you are, you're not. Anything could happen to you. You're not disease proof. You're not invincible, and we all go through life's process, and we all go through life. Yeah.
I appreciate that too, because I do feel that when we say these things, though, it's often in a way like to punish people who are successful or who are well off. At least how I grew up, it's like, oh, you see him up there, got a big house, but look, he sick there, look, he gone dead there. And I often say people, well, everybody dies.
And at the end of the
Doesn't
day,
matter how good you are.
And at the end of the day, we are humans.
Yeah.
Regardless the wealth we have, regardless the prestige that we have, at the end of the day, we are humans, and we owe it to each other to have that common humanity.
But I also feel like we use it as an excuse to not be our full selves, to not go after what we want fully. But so what if I didn't achieve what he achieved? Look, he gone dead though. You will die too. Death is not a measure of someone's humanity or their success. It's what you do with your life while you're living. And we focus so much on these things, but what about focusing on what you're gaining while you're living? And so I could never really get that when people say, oh, he's a king, but look, he's sick though. But there are thousands and millions of people who are poor who are also sick.
Exactly. And the thing about it, it's like you look at that and you're saying, well, okay, with that person that they're ill, and then you rightfully say, that is something that we all would have to meet at some point in time. Death does not discriminate.
No. And it's not necessarily the way we look at it. It's like, you're here, make the best of what you have here. It's about life. We talk about that more than we talk about life.
Yeah, let's enjoy life.
Okay, let's take this call. 3 minutes. Let's make that 2 minutes until 9 o'clock. Caller, go right ahead. Hi, caller. Caller, go right ahead. Island T. Hey.
Yes, good morning,
What's
folks.
up?
Yeah, good. It's always interesting to see the balancing act when these public figures get ill. On one hand, you want privacy, but on the next hand, the public has a right, they would say, to know who their either leaders or icons or what's happening, what's going on with them.
Yes.
Because ultimately it affects them, one way or the other. But it's interesting to see the balancing act that's going on right now, because people speculate and they have to put out clarification notices and that sort of thing. With regards to housing, I wonder if you guys know exactly the relationship of the NHC with this project. Is it a private public partnership? What is it? Because
I find it very interesting that you ask this question, considering that I'm sure the officials feel that they put out so much information on this, and the fact that persons still have to ask, it shows that not enough information is put out on this.
It's not broken down
enough
properly.
of the correct information.
Yes.
Because okay, I know it was said that they're bankable. I mean, some of it is for bankable people, which I thought they would go and to the bank and get the stuff organized anyway.
Is it some or all?
The national housing. Hello?
Is it some or all? On all of them you supposed
No,
to?
not all.
Okay, not all.
I don't think it's all.
Okay, okay, Mac, I have to wrap you up now. It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's
We
9
have
o'clock. We have our
weekly dose coming up. Yeah, you can always call back after.
Yeah, so we'll take a short break. I would have to leave because I have to deal with other work duties. So we have Chevy here, and we have Jamster, and we have the good doctor. So Doc, we're gonna take a break, and I will have to leave, but I know you'll be in good hands. Yes.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
This Valentine's Day, be love and let it shine for all to see. With beautiful, hand-finished gifts from Pandora Jewelry, give them a piece of your heart with styles full of radiance and romance, iconic heartfelt symbols, and lockets of love for every kind of forever. Make every day together a gift. Be love. Shop Pandora Jewelry today.
Noble Jewelers on Port Zante, across from Rams Smoke and the Booze.
Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Two minutes after 9 o'clock, Island Tea Time, and I got Chev here holding it down with me as we head into Weekly Dose with Dr. Natalie Osborne. Good morning, Doc. What's up?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody had a lovely week and a weekend, and the week is going good so far.
Yeah, it's early in the week, but
how was yours though? You're hoping everybody had a good time.
Yeah, I had a good weekend.
You look very nice.
Oh, thank you.
All glowy.
I celebrated my birthday last week, so
hey, afterglow.
The afterglow. Yes. All right.
So what's on the agenda for today?
Oh, there's lots on the agenda for today. As I usually get inspiration from patients that I see, persons that I meet with, and we're going to be talking about hematuria today. Hematuria. And we're going to have a good conversation, explain what it is, what are some of the causes associated with the hematuria, how to prevent it, how to treat it if you have hematuria. All right?
Okay. I know anything that says hemo or anything like that normally is with blood.
Excellent. Yes. Anytime you hear anything with heme at the beginning, that's excellent. That's blood. So then help me now deduce that. So the second part of it, because you said hematuria, so you said blood. Urea. What does that help you to think?
Uric acid, P.
P, yes. P. So then put it together so you can help the audience know. Hematuria, what would that be?
That's blood, urine, blood in the urine.
Excellent. Yes. That's it. You see?
Yes. Blood in the pee.
Yes, but you're correct. Blood in the urine. And that's exactly what hematuria is, that there is blood inside of the urine. And you see, sometimes things aren't so hard. We often try to teach the upcoming medical students and residents that not everything you're going to know. Yeah. But by deductive reasoning, you can put things together and come to a conclusion. So yes, today we're going to be talking about hematuria, and that is blood in the urine.
Nice. Okay, so why would blood be in the urine? What is blood in the urine
Well,
exactly?
you just said, what is blood in the urine? So,
Yes.
blood is in the urine. That is hematuria.
Yeah.
So we've got two main types of
yeah.
having blood in the urine. What is it? It can be macroscopic, where you can see it with the visible eye. Oftentimes, patients will come to us and say, "Doc," and they're all frantic and they're scared, which they should be, because blood should not be in the urine. There's usually a reason for it. So you'll see blood, frankly. They go to the bathroom, they pee, and they realize that there is blood falling in the toilet bowl. There is quite a bit of blood there, and they're very, very scared. And if they see a clot, it is very alarming to them. And the other type of hematuria, it is called microscopic. Simply micro means very, very small. So you need the microscope to see that blood. So it doesn't show up to the visible eye. It will then appear when you do any test and you look at it under the microscope. All right? So those are the two main types of having hematuria or blood in the urine.
Okay. And what are the causes of this?
So the causes of hematuria, some of the causes of hematuria, it's quite vast. Anything to do with urine usually associated with the urinary tract. So let's think about it logically. And if you want to start from the top to the bottom, you've got the kidneys, you've got the tubes, the small tubes that takes the urine from the kidney down to the bladder. Those are called ureters. You've got the bladder that sits there, just in the pelvis there. Then you have another tube that takes the urine from the bladder to the exterior outside. Anywhere along that track, you can have a problem and you can have blood coming from those areas. So what are the causes? Think about anything that can happen, like an infection. You could have an infection or urinary tract infection anywhere along the urinary tract. I just described it. In the kidneys, you can have an infection there, in the urethra, in the bladder, in the urethra. So anywhere along that tube and that connection there, you can have blood. It could be an infection, so you call that in the kidneys, pyelonephritis, in the bladder, cystitis, things like that. So anybody who has an infection, they could have some blood in the urine. You can have it as a result of stones. You've often hear patients having this intense pain in their flank or their sides as a relation to kidney stones, and they can present with blood in the urine. Because what happens, the lining or the inner layer of the tubes there, they're very delicate, and that stone is rough and coarse. So what happens, as that stone is passing, it is bruising and irritating there, so you can have some bleeding, and that is another reason for having hematuria. The prostate, we've often spoken about prostate and enlargement of the prostate in our male patients and our community members. So if that prostate is enlarged, there's lots of blood vessels there on the prostate, and they can become irritated, distended, or stretched, and they can burst, giving you blood in the urine. So that can be very alarming. You can have trauma. If anybody were to get involved in a motor vehicle accident and they got a blow to the back, they have an injury to the back, they can have some blood in the urine. Sometimes if you're in a very severe accident, you can injure the urethra and separate it off from the prostate in males, giving you blood in the urine. So there's several different things. And you can have certain different medications that can cause hematuria. What are common medications? You've heard of penicillin. Most persons will be exposed to penicillin. That can cause some blood in the urine. If you take things like aspirin, any blood thinners, and you're taking too much of them, you've heard of things like warfarin or heparin, and certain kind of drugs that we use for chemotherapy, they can cause you to have blood in your urine as well too. And think about any cancer along those tubes and along that system, that urinary system, whether it's a cancer in the kidney, whether it's a cancer along the urethra, whether there's a cancer in the bladder, or cancer in the prostate, any one of these can give you blood in the urine. So we've gone through most of the causes. Infectious process, things like cancers, you can have trauma, you can have things like stones, you can have persons who have medications they consume and they can give them bleeding. So those are the most common causes. There may be some other causes and stuff that are less common.
Okay. So what are the signs and symptoms of a hematuria.
So hematuria.
Hematuria.
Very good.
Yeah.
What are the signs and symptoms? Most times and oftentimes it could be asymptomatic, that the person comes in and they do not have any symptoms at all. They just say, Doc, I'm seeing that I'm peeing blood. It is visible. Or they can have done a test and they can see that they have blood inside of the pee, because that could be microscopic. So sometimes they can present with pain. Like if it's the cause is an infection, you could have burning when you pee. You have some pain, as we say, in the lower tummy pad. You can have pain in the upper part of the back where the kidneys lie. It all depends on what the cause of this hematuria. So you can have some discomfort along with it. But oftentimes it can be without any symptoms. Okay? Some persons, if it depends, if it is a prostate that is enlarged, it could have some irritation, discomfort there. All right? So it depends on the symptoms associated with it.
Okay, and what conditions can be mistaken for hematuria?
Okay, that's a good question, because oftentimes the patients come to you and like a female, you're not sure where the blood is coming from. Yeah, that can happen. And so you're thinking, because it could be, is it the menstrual cycle? That could happen at times too. Sometimes when a woman wipes from the front to the back, you can wonder, is it from the rectum or from the anus? So that could be a cause too. And a very curious one that I ran into just recently is what we call hematospermia. It's different from hematuria, but I'm going to break it down because I always do. Some men would complain, and it's rare, that after they ejaculate with blood in the ejaculate after having sexual intercourse. And that is a little bit different than the hematuria. It is that when they usually it's associated with the sexual activity, and then there is the ejaculate, and blood is inside that. And that is a very curious one because it can be very alarming. Most of the time, it's nothing serious. Sometimes there may be small vessels along the pathway there that rupture and bleed if you're having a very vigorous sexual activity, things like that. So those are some of the things you want to use to differentiate from. And to be sure, because oftentimes we'll examine the patient and to be sure where this blood is coming from.
Okay. So how is hematuria diagnosed though?
So hematuria, like any other symptom or any other complaint, you want to take a good history, because nothing beats speaking and sitting and having a discussion with your patient. I was taught that over 90% of diagnosis can be made with taking a good history. Asking the patient, taking time to listen to what the symptoms are, when these symptoms began, how long these symptoms are going on. And then you can perform a physical examination. So you take a good history, you do a physical examination, examining them, doing your rectal exam, you may have to do a pelvic exam, you examine the back, the tummy, and that will kind of guide you where some of the symptoms are coming from. And then once you've done that, you can go on and do different laboratory tests. What those may include. You can do a urinalysis. So you take a sample of the urine, you send it to the lab, and you're looking for the blood, how much blood cells are inside of the urine, if there are any white blood cells or any other cells to indicate that there's an infection or any other type of abnormal cells that could indicate what the problem is, okay? You can do a culture. You want to see the urine. You want it to see if it's going to develop any bacteria when you leave it there. So that's what we call a culture. We're looking to see if there's a bacteria that grows inside of the urine sample there. You want to also do things like, you could do a study we call a cystoscopy. What is that? It's putting a small camera up inside the urethra, going to the bladder, and you're looking to see if there's anything that is inside of the bladder, the urethra, and there are even smaller tubes that can go further up into the urethra, almost to the kidneys, so that you can see if there is any injuries or lesions inside there. You can do a CT scan, and you can do an MRI. So you're looking for information, because what if there's a tumor that's there at the kidneys? What if there's a tumor in the bladder? These other tests can help you, not only to tell you where the problem originates, but to see if there's any spread of the problem there.
Okay. So how is blood in the urine treated?
So for treatment of blood in the urine or hematuria, it all going to come down to what the problem is. You first have to identify it, okay? So let's suppose it's an infectious process. Then you treat it with antibiotic, hydration, rest, things like that. Let's suppose it's a kidney stone. You may have to treat it with removal of the stone. Sometimes we have electric shock wave, a lithotripsy we call it, like a special ultrasound machine is put on the back there, and it sells some waves in, and it's supposed to break up the stones. We don't offer it here, but that's something that you can get done if you have stones. And then once it's broken down, it's almost like powder, and it expels through the urine. So you would then be alleviated of some of your pain and symptoms. If it is a cancer and you have to remove a kidney or you have to remove a part of the bladder, whatever you may have to do, it would depend on what your diagnosis is. If it is a drug, you may have to suspend the drug or decrease the amount of the drug that you're using. You may have to change the type of medication that you use at that particular time.
So who is at risk for blood in their urine?
Anybody, of course. That's a good one. But anybody would be at risk for having blood in the urine. Just think about it. For example, though, these are persons who may have had a family history. Because sometimes persons are at risk, if your family members have kidney stone, you're at risk of having a kidney stone. You could have some anomaly or malformation of the kidneys on the system there that can lead to bleeding. Anybody at risk, because anyone can get into an accident and have trauma along that pathway. And so if you have any diseases, things that you may have to, because you're thinking about, what about the cancers? Who's at risk? If you're a smoker, if you're exposed to certain chemicals, because there's certain risk factors that are given when for persons who are at risk for having bladder tumor, if they have a kidney tumor, certain risk and exposure to metals, dyes, fumes that put you at risk for developing some of these cancers. And persons who run very vigorously and who are very active physically, long distance runner, and they're not consuming enough fluids, they can have some blood in the urine as well too. And persons, we spoke about it, vigorous sexual activity, you can have some blood that it comes out there.
So how can people prevent hematuria?
Preventing hematuria is preventing some of the underlying causes. Yes. You can't just prevent it, because you don't know what risk factors you have, what genetics you have, because you could have some congenital or abnormalities that you're born with from the kidneys, things like that. You could have those type of injuries. You can't control those. What you can do, hydrate yourself, because you want to prevent things like the kidney stones. Those are very common. You want to prevent, at best, if you could prevent having any kind of trauma. Your activities, make sure you stay hydrated if you're a long-distance runner. These are things that you can do, okay? If you are a smoker, you want to quit smoking, because that can put you at risk for cancer of the bladder. So you want to make sure that you do that and limit your exposure to any kind of chemicals which may put you at risk for developing any of these diseases. Okay, so everything usually comes right back down to the particular condition or disease that caused the hematuria. It is very alarming for some people when they have that, because no one wants to have blood in the urine. To have blood in the urine is very traumatic and very frightful for most persons. But you want to first identify what's the reason for having this blood in the urine, and then you can go about finding a solution. What you do not do, though, is stay at home and think that you're going to solve it for yourself, or wishing that it goes away, because patients do that at times too. If I ignore it, maybe the problem would go away.
Wow. Wow. I've learned a lot.
Jamster, any questions from you? Last week, I know you were quite heated with me last week.
Really? Oh, what were we talking about last week again?
Then.
See, I don't even remember.
Oh, you don't remember? Consumption of alcohol and stuff. So.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Wow.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Until I have to treat you for something, then I will deal with your
No, I just talk a good game. I'm pretty responsible.
You're pretty responsible. So for this topic, I don't know if you have any other questions that you may want to ask, or Jams have any questions, or anyone has a comment or question.
No. You
You're
pretty much nailed it.
It was a lot of information, but it was quite clear.
It was quite clear.
I think for most persons, I guess like infections and so forth, simple like washing your hands and paying attention to that sort of stuff.
And that is quite common. One of the most common causes for you to have hematuria is from some sort of infection. And as you talk about hygiene, it's very important. As you said, one of the ways to prevent it. We often try to educate our young females and our young girls that you wipe from front to back. You do not want to take any bacteria that may be associated with the anus to the front. So that is always important. How you wipe, how often you wipe, make sure that your underwear is clean. Yes, we encourage, sometimes you have these panty liners that women use so that you make sure that the material that you have inside of the panty, that it's nice and cool, so it doesn't lead any bacterial overgrowth or development in there because it may be moist. Some of these materials are humid, tend to lead to a lot of humidity.
And we're living in a hot
and we're already living in a climate that is very humid. So these are things you want to prevent that. Those males that we often speak to, once you're above the age of 40, you're at risk for an increase in your prostate. One of another very common cause of you having hematuria and enlarged prostate. So you want to get those checked. Be on medication if you need to make sure that the prostate shrinks or the size is controlled. If it is a prostate cancer, then you need the appropriate treatment for that.
I think you'll be pleased to know we have a call. Caller, go right ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, doctor. I want to ask you a simple question, maybe two. Should women use Dettol when they're trying to be hygienic with the part of the body there, where people love so much? The opposite sex love so much. And one more. Are you familiar with something? Oh, Lord, I forget the name now, There was a substance that women used to use long time ago. I read about it and heard about it and all of that. Alum. The name is alum. Are you familiar with the name alum?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not familiar with that. Are you?
Use that instead of Dettol and all of that.
What is that for? What is it used for?
Well, they say use as a help to enhance the texture of that part of the body, female part of the body, not male.
Powder.
I mean female. So it's some interesting stories I would have read about that, and I know people. When growing up, I used to hear the older women would tell the young girls, the children, their daughters and so, to use that, not Dettol. There's a contention about Dettol. Dettol is not supposed to be used here. So, as you mentioned that, I would like if you could maybe just say a little thing.
Okay, all
I
right.
would like to hear.
One of the things, thank you for your question. One of the things that people often speak about, we do not correctly encourage inserting anything to wash the vagina. The outside, which is your vulva, and the folds that you see there, you can wash that with your soap if you want to dilute a little bit of Dettol, if you feel so. But do not insert anything inside of the vagina. That itself is taken care of with the secretions and stuff. Once you do not have an infection, there is nothing that you should put inside there unless it is indicated by a doctor. So some of these marketing products are used, they're focused and geared and talk about cleaning out the vagina and stuff. We do not recommend them in the medical community per se. There really no added benefit. The vagina has a acidic content, and it has to have a normal a level of the pH, and you don't want to put that in balance to increase your risk of having yeast infection and stuff like that. So you can wash the outside, do your regular baths morning and evening with your soap, whatever soap you prefer, and that works best for you, and dry, and make sure that your underwear is clean and comfortable. Is there a caller?
Yes, caller. Caller, go right ahead.
Good morning, Jamster. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Congratulations is in order. You're at healthcare at its dazzling best.
Thank you.
Turn
Thank
this
you.
doctor loose, Jamster. Let her go. Thank you very much. Hygiene, the introduction, the prevention before you reach the doctor, you are doing it. I want to say thank you very much. And just remind us about the stuff we keep in the refrigerator, like onion, cheese, and let us know that remind us that the refrigerator is a place of high bacteria. And you could get good bacteria when you eat all these stuff that you think that they're safe in your refrigerator. They're only temporary. And so I only add to what you're saying. So, but drive on. You're doing a good job. Jamster and the host that are with you. Thank you very much for educating. Because to me, that is the whole idea of healthcare. Not wait until it happens. Stop it from happening before it happens. Thank you very much. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you. The call actually made our day. That's very important. That's ultimately our objective. Our objective here on this show is always educating, and the more people know, people can act on the information.
I don't know why he's thanking me. Thanks should go to you.
But you're the producer of the show. You make it lively. You make it fun. You keep the callers coming in, and you keep us on track with our time. So
yes,
flattery will get you everywhere.
So we were talking about some of the, and he mentioned some of the hygiene things. You want to prevent always, making sure that you take care of yourself as a female, having your regular baths, using your deodorant. Clean clothes is very important. I realize that. I would encourage everyone. Where possible, make sure that your clothing is clean. If you wear a jean once or twice, no more than that. Make sure that those are clean, because what happens, you have bacteria, your sweat that goes onto your clothes that is built up. If you keep reusing it, then you create problems overall as well too. So these, and especially in those areas that are delicate areas, you want to make sure that everything is clean and fresh there. You heard, Jamster?
I hear you loud and clear.
We often hear about the clothing that's too tight as well, especially in these climates.
Oh,
I know we love the tight jean, but a little dress now and again. I'm personally trying to wear more dresses.
Yes, the summer dress, the flowy dresses that that's important too as well too.
I love to see women in sundresses. So,
yes.
I'm sure I must have complimented you at least once for wearing a sundress, right? I'm pretty sure.
Perhaps.
Yeah, 'cause I love to see women in sundresses.
Well, you need to compliment her more than, so that she can always remember that.
Yeah, and the simple things.
One of the things I didn't mention, and it needs more mention in our community, because education needs to be around this, endometriosis. Though rare, it is happening more and more to women, and there's not, even in the international community, there's not a lot of information and knowledge out there, and even the treatment has not been given sometimes the best priority. And I've been dealing with a patient who has endometriosis. And what does that mean? The lining of the womb, the inside of the womb, that's called the endometrium, that tissue can go and deposit in other organs. It can get into the bladder too and give you hematuria. That's another cause. So the female would tell you, during my menstrual cycle, I tend to have hematuria more. I tend to be passing blood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was trying to sneak in the last one.
You can have a call. Yes,
let's see if they call back sometimes.
So that's another call. Yes.
Wow.
So anytime you have hematuria, it needs to be investigated.
And this is why we need more females like yourself to really have these discussions and really focus on the female body. It's such a sophisticated piece of machinery, and we underestimate it a lot. You know.
Call, go right ahead.
Sorry to get back so quick, but Doctor, I have a question for you. Is it true that if it smells with a stench, there's bad bacteria?
Repeat the question.
If there's a smell and it stinks, is it bad there in the presence of bad bacteria?
Okay, then. All right. Thank you for your question. Yeah, thank you for your question. I guess he's talking along the line of the vagina, if there is a smell. each woman would have a particular body odor that everybody has their body odor, okay? But once it gets abnormal and you realize most women would say, oh, it smells different. You normally have a secretion from the vagina because it keeps it lubricated as well. And also it takes away the dead cells that are on the surface. Because remember, the body has its mechanism of caring for itself. So the secretion from the vagina should be clear and most time odorless. Once you start having an odor, you're becoming suspicious that you have some form of vaginosis, some form of infection there. And then you can have that checked out. But you should not have any foul odor per se, but each individual would have their own unique scent. Once you start to see that changes, and if you see the secretion that comes out on your panty liners, and you see that color has changed, it's dark, it's brown, then you need to get it checked out, okay?
And a good practice I learned growing up, I don't know if people still teach their daughters this, is to smell your underwear at the end of the day. It sounds, men watch you and they're like, what are you doing?
But do that in private.
Smell it. Just little things that save you so much time.
Jam, so you learn something every day. I didn't know that we taught young girls to do that.
Oh,
I didn't know
just in
personally.
Sandy Point.
But the thing about it, that's curious that you would say that, because if you get an idea and you're familiar with your body scent, you'll know when there's a change.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's important. Jam, so what you have to say on that matter?
Me? Nothing. The ladies are speaking.
So,
I defer to the ladies.
You defer to the ladies. All right. So, in summary, we spoke today about hematuria, what it is, the different types of hematuria, the symptoms associated with hematuria, what are the causes of hematuria, how do you go about diagnosing what is the underlying problem of that hematuria, and how do you treat it? So I hope that we would have educated our community today. I hope that persons would have taken away even something, knowing that if you have any type of hematuria, it is not normal, and you need to get it checked out by your physician, your primary care physician, anywhere that you can seek medical attention. And I always say there is no obstacle really here on the island for medical attention. They're the health centers, the hospitals, the private office, the private clinics, okay? So always stop in and see your physician or your nurse if needs be. So thank you once again, and lovely working with you this morning.
It was so informative. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Lovely. You're such a, I must say, perhaps you're not seeing her, maybe you are, some of you, but she's such a, her energy is so nice and so calm and enthusiastic, you know. You tell she loves it, and that's always a plus in a doctor.
Yes.
I co-sign.
Yes. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day too, and a great
bye-bye.
week. Okay, see you next week.
Okay.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Buster, pour it up, meet the thirst quencher in my cup. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster, put the colors in my life. Refreshing and nice, and I drink that what we like. Buster, you're full of vibes, living for the color. And I'm black and white, we do what we like. We live to enjoy life. Buster, pour it up, different flavor. Load it up. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster, put the colors in my life.
And we're back with our newest addition to the team. Yes, we.
Yes, it's Chef Rich in the house with the gem stuff.
The enormity of it, huh? You said we are back. Like,
I'm like, they left us in charge.
I know. Well, so, what are we going to talk about for the next 25 minutes? Let's see there. I had a couple things here that I wanted to talk about. Let me see. So did you watch the Grammys on Sunday?
Oh my gosh! For somebody who is so into music, I didn't.
You didn't. I didn't really either.
Forgot.
I was more following it on because I was watching True Detective on HBO. and then Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I was working.
I was like, but then I was kind of checking Twitter to see what was going on.
I forgot it completely. I was working. But I did start it by the time I got home. I started seeing all this stuff, and Theron Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was planning to check to see what songs he wrote because actually I was wondering.
Oh, he wrote.
I was like, what songs he wrote for this cycle, because I remember thinking within the last 80. I said, "Wow, those guys! I haven't seen anything from those guys in a while."
Yeah.
But he's a killer songwriter. So when I saw that he won an award I was like, "Oh, okay." So
songs quoted were like, I think one of the ones people would know is Chris Brown and Ciara. This is how we roll. What it is.
You actually know that song? I thought I was the only person who knows that song.
No, everybody uses it.
I
in
play
the TikTok
it all the
videos
time.
and the Instagram videos.
Yeah, I don't really do the TikTok thing, so
yeah.
I wouldn't have seen it. But yeah, I play it a lot actually.
Yeah, he actually did that. One of the most famous ones I remember is Man Down by Rihanna, and he did work on that.
Yeah,
he has worked with
a whole bunch of but I mean, just that I didn't realize that. I thought they had broken up and. He wasn't writing anymore because.
No, I don't.
So when I saw his name yesterday, I said, "Oh, good. So he's still writing."
No, writers don't ever stop. And then we have so many Caribbean writers. Like I write music, so I've had the wonderful opportunity of being part of 2 writing camps. One.
Did you go to the one with what's his name again? Oh God, the guy from. The Bishop is last name is?
That was held here?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been to any. Here I've done it in Dominica in particular. That one was really good. Met a lot of people, and you think you're in the Caribbean, you don't really you're hearing a lot of Caribbean artists, but before you didn't. But there are so many Caribbean writers who doing huge up there.
Yeah,
some of the
absolutely.
Hits,
Absolutely.
And we don't know.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the things I wanted to mention for months now is the fact that it's kind of like the death of dancehall in the sense of the dancehall, the feel good, fun dancehall that we used to have in the 90s and the early 2000s. And Shaggy kind of went off on those guys a few months ago, and they still don't seem to be listening. Apple actually discontinued. Apple and Billboard actually discontinued the reggae and the dancehall charts because of the fact that nobody was buying the music and no one was paying attention to the music like they used to do in the early 2000s. And this dark, and these guys are not listening to Shaggy. Shaggy said, "Oh, listen, you guys, this dark stuff about and this bleak and also very risque lyrics and talking about women's body parts and the explicit sex talk and all that. It's it's what's wrong with dancehall. I mean, soca is way more interesting than dancehall.
Soca is a happy music.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Way more. Phones are ringing for some reason. I wonder what I said. Caller, go right ahead.
No, nothing you said.
No, I'm just playing.
Sorry to distract you from your music scene, but I just wanted to finish the thought as you suggested after saying, about the national. I was on the National Housing Corporation and wondering about the relationship, the involvement in this housing program, right? If in fact, as the National Housing Corporation would normally do, is essentially cater for low income, and it's usually somehow or the other subsidized, okay, because your customer getting a pretty decent priced home, okay, Is it going to be the case? I mean, they've gone and announced how much the 1 and 2 and 3 bedroom houses are going to cost. And it seems to me, at those prices, it's pricing certain people out of the market. So I just wondered how they were gonna. Is it that they're just gonna have an oversight view or whatever? I'm not sure. It would be nice if someone can explain it. So that's just some homework for you.
Yeah.
Some other homework. I don't know if you realized yesterday when Snyderman called in. Basically, when prompted, the official indicated that the road cost 31 million. That's about 4 miles of road. The island main road, which is upwards of 30 miles, cost 70 million. Now, something strange is going on with that math, right? That's some serious inflation, right? 4 miles, 31 million.
You're too kind. Inflation, really?
Well, it's just something for you to,
Yeah.
I'm sure you.
But
there's probably
I
a
agree.
reason, eh? Maybe there's a reason, but I thought that roundabout was a done deal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. To
Yeah.
hear that you could say maybe 80% a done deal. Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder.
Well,
Because
yeah,
I've always said that it always needed a roundabout there.
Yeah.
A long time, because I always get the heebie-jeebies when, especially if you go into that area, Douglas Estate, and you're coming out.
Right.
And you're
blind.
going out, and you're like, oh boy, let me come out here. Let me be careful. There's always
You either be careful, you be careful or you be quick.
Yeah, exactly.
The danger of it, yeah. And one other thing, we have a tendency to say they do this or they're not doing this. Maybe it's time we take a page out of the DPP's book and name, right? Because saying they kind of relieve those who are actually responsible of their responsibility, because it's so all-encompassing. Everybody's there, right? And so it's just as something I've noticed, and I do it myself sometimes too. Why don't they think of this? Why don't they do this? And call the relevant either department or person who is responsible. I think that would make for more accountability, and so that the people responsible are not absolved of their responsibility. Just a thought. All right then.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
for calling.
Great. Yeah.
I understand what he's saying about calling the name. I think sometimes people just are scared and you just do the blanket statement there.
Yeah. I mean, as for the house thing, it would have been nice to see. It would have been nice to see what the inside of the house. I remember. I know you mentioned, but I'm kind of thinking in 2024, when they said smart homes, I'm kind of expecting the houses to have be tiled and have cabinets and all that, because this is 2024.
Yeah,
this is 1974. I would like to think that all those things are probably included.
And when I hear smart, I'm thinking things like
Maybe
again,
solar panels.
solar. I'm thinking if they're gonna put, I think they said they were putting in
like a cistern, even
cistern,
that kind of
but
thing,
also like simple things like digesters. Like, this is what baffles
So
me.
that just, you mean like for the sewage?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
cool.
I'm
Okay.
like, when you're on the ground locally and you hear gas might go up, everybody starts wetting their pants. Oh my God, how poor people gonna eat? And to think that since high school, I've learned about, recycling the waste from the house and creating gas and other things. And the fact that we are not utilizing these things. So I kind of made a decision with myself, right, Jamster? Although I can see all the things that are wrong and ways that government could fall short. I'm also calling on us as Kititians. I mean, we have so many persons going overseas to study every year. And not even just those who go overseas. We have so many innovative thinking people on island. So I'm calling, what about us coming together and asking for what we want, because I'm there thinking and I'm like, okay, they bought these homes, but don't we have any outlet where Kittians can say, well, these are the type of homes we're looking for. This is what we would like. So I'm encouraging Kittians to just stop waiting on them to tell us what we can have. You know, they're there to serve, supposedly. So perhaps sometimes we can take the initiative and be a little bit bolder. And of course, to do things like this, we need to come together in groups and whatever. But you have some persons out there, they're amazing at organizing. If you say, okay, I'm going to have a party, they can organize that in their sleep, a wedding, anything, any type of group. You have a lot of people on these groups. Can we come together and do some of this stuff?
I agree. They don't seem to be disposed to helping groups either, because, I mean, look at the consortium. I mean, they've been talking we've been having them on since we started Farm Report. I think it was maybe last February or so. Mm-hmm. And nothing has changed, really. So
you know what I think would change it? I saw a comment on Facebook the other day and I had to laugh. The guy was like, better we start casting ballots on Facebook and all, because that's the only thing that seems to get these people attention. So sometimes, you know, if we are loud enough as a nation, and we've seen it in sometimes different things pop up and the chatter is so loud that it forces them to come and deal with it. But what if we can take some of that chatter, not necessarily a negative chatter, but be like, okay, somebody try to, what type of homes do we want? Because we keep finding the fault of the homes, and yes, they're false, but I'm not hearing a discussion of, well, what do you want? Because to get what you want, you have to actually ask for what you want.
The irony of this, I think the irony of the situation is that maybe to have a smart home and have all these modern conveniences and amenities, the home might actually cost a little more than people might want. But I still don't think that's a good enough reason to not do it, because over the long term it's going to work out. It'll work out much better for people, you know.
And again, to me, if we utilize a lot of the new technology that's out there, and some of it ain't even that new, some of the technology is 20 years old.
Exactly.
Then, it's just the thought for me. I feel like in our culture, we just are in a rush to say, see what to do, see how we look. But we don't put enough thought behind it. And again, it's both on the government officials and on us. And there's some of us, it's our party, so we just want to make it look good. So we are not home grumbling, but we don't want to say it. But, if the country is going to progress, you have Jamaica talking about becoming a republic. And we are, we had to start having certain conversations. Yeah.
Caller, go right ahead. 9:47. Hey, what's up?
Good morning.
I call back again because you're on a subject that interests me very much. Housing. I believe small islands should not, government, selling land belongs to government, should not be selling land to poor people. I believe government should build houses, like in Europe. Build houses and let people get houses. And then, but I think, especially when people are educated, I think they have a lot of great expectations. I think too great too. We cannot do like rich countries. We just cannot, because we are small. And the quicker we understand that we are small and we have so much limitation, the better. Singapore, state-owned housing development, not ordinary people. No poor people are not build no house, that they don't have no land. And some other countries do that too. And that is where we're supposed to go. And the scheming where these people doing the lot of real estate and stuff, we too done with that there. Take all that out equation. And look at Singapore. Two things I mentioned about the housing. Singapore ain't talking about no republic, and Singapore nothing rich like them. They're not talking about no republic. They're still well, you could be a republic and be in the Commonwealth, but they ain't talking about no republic. Them they are minor things. Jamaicans, here you are talking all there. Jamaicans got mixed mood about that. that Jamaicans love the monarchy. Jamaicans, Ghanaians, and others around the world love the monarchy. No care what you say. All them foolishness about these other things again. We got an attitude here about national heroes. Senki should not have had so many national heroes. And then he got the real one who was supposed to be there. He's omitted. And that's the man, Thomas Manchester, because Thomas Manchester is the one who started the labor movement. When you listen me good with the part there.
But
labor movement.
But let me ask you a question though.
Money, he was an estate owner. But then he did that so to move the people forward. If you look about his history, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But the thing is he did all of that when you couldn't form even trade unions. And after the Buckley's uprising, then the British government kind of reacted in setting up the Mine Commission of Inquiry. And then that went through the Caribbean because they had some spontaneous uprising in Grenada and so forth. And then a lot of things got changed moving forward. Nothing started where they are, you know. Everything takes time.
I actually agree.
But around here, I gotta know, around here we want things happen too quick. And we're not a wealthy place. We may be getting some kind of a windfall money. But we better put it up like now we got the biggest amount of money in reserves around the world. Have a good day, Mr. James.
Yeah, you too. Well, I wanted to ask you a question though.
Yes, sir.
I actually agree with your.
I'm not hearing you well.
No, I was saying I actually agree with what you said about Mr. Manchester and your reasons for why he should be a national hero. What do you think? Now we had the story last week about Elimat being hospitalized, and you know I felt that kind of saddened me. And apparently he's been making appeals to come home and be provided for. I also think that he should probably be in the conversation for national hero, along with El Camino Willett and Kim Collins and so on. What are your thoughts on that?
The only person there I see, I ain't talking about national hero. He has done what nobody else has done for St. Kitts and Nevis. That's Kim Collins. Elimat, at one point in time during his era, he did us good and proud with his music, because under I marvel at the kind of composition that he would have made during the era. Well, something could be done, but I don't see them as any national hero. Neither El Camino will it.
But Viv Richards is a national hero in Antigua. The Antigua.
El Camino will it. Look how devastating he was throughout his cricketing career.
Yes,
his
but
name was a household word.
Wait. Listen to this before you counter. Wait.
No. Neither Elimat nor El Camino will it go stand up to Kim Collins. Kim Collins is a household word universally.
I agree, Kim Collins.
Can't all of them be though?
Exactly. And Antigua, do you know Antigua provides for Short Shirt? They give him everything. They haven't made him a national hero yet. I have a feeling they probably will at some point. But they provide everything for him right now. Why doesn't the Elimat rate that? I mean...
Well, you got to start the conversation, you know. Start the conversation, and they could do that. I don't mind that at all. Why I see them as a national hero? National hero is a serious thing, you know. I don't believe all who have made national hero deserve it, you know.
So music and music composition isn't a serious thing? I don't understand.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned...
People created a lot of music in the United States and Britain, and they made them a national hero.
So what do you think makes a national hero, sir?
You recognize them. Look how, if in the conversation, look at how the Beatles transform music in Britain, Europe, and the world. The Beatles in 1960 something, and that set up a pop culture in Britain in particular and around the world. They recognize them. I don't know what they get in terms of perks or whatever, but they did that a great thing for music, especially in the pop culture, because a lot of the reggae people and all of them transform the song into their kind of rhythms and so forth. And so forth. So, I mean, you can't look at this thing universally. We in a little corner here. Well, not you. We got too many of them already. A few of them deserve it. We should argue for Thomas Manchester. Yeah, I wonder because his name, certain politicians came out of the LP. So I guess that's right. And people who select people shouldn't be government. They should have a special committee.
I agree with that.
All kind of people in it. And then government, okay, yes, they could give the approval, denial. But I could talk on and on. But John said you have a good day, yeah?
Okay, you too. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring up something else for the same issue, but with the housing,
yeah,
I want to see government relinquish that here. I stop selling land to poor people. Poor people want a house. Look at the in Singapore and what they do in Europe. And save your land. Your land's about being escape when you gone, you done. I will go there.
You too.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and this is another thing. I really thought that they would have made, well, that they would have addressed. We don't actually have a lot of land to spare, and I really thought that we would have had a mix of housing designs, including some that included like apartment blocks and that kind of thing. Because at some point we're going to have to start using the sky.
Yes.
I mean, to maximize the land footprint. I mean, it doesn't make sense to be building a whole bunch of bungalows all over the house. I mean, all over the country. When we could be going up and maybe maximizing land use.
Using the airspace as well.
Exactly. So
I think, again, it's just, growing up, people accuse the smaller islands of having small island mentality, and that's an insult. But sometimes
it's also true.
Yeah, you have to look at yourself and realize, okay, we do think very limited sometimes. And it's a natural thing. If you live in a small space, it's going to do that. If you travel and you go to bigger spaces, it tends to broaden your horizons. But I feel like we have the internet now. You can travel without having a plane ticket. And there is so much information and stuff out there. So I feel that as a people, we have to start to think bigger. I know the gentleman talk about the limitations of size and so forth. There is no limitation to imagination. Right? And from imagination, every innovation comes forth. So we have to first, as a people, want it and want more. We got to want more than just the basics, And we got to think bigger. We're thinking too small.
Take, for example, Rusty gave an idea 2 weeks ago, which I actually think I've been thinking a lot about it. He was saying, why not do a parking lot? Think of the field at Bastia High School. He was saying, why not have a parking lot on the ground there? And to me, at the very least, that could be done. That whole big field in the middle.
And not just a flat parking lot. Why not have multi-level
exactly,
parking?
you can have multi-levels. That's what he was saying.
And
I actually think that's a brilliant. I think that's a brilliant idea.
We need some overheads as well, to me, in Bastia and all of that. Put multi-level parking, overhead driveways and stuff like that.
Exactly.
We can utilize different things.
Exactly. We always seem to have this defeatist approach where someone comes up with a fairly radical or progressive idea, and you hear all kind of reasons why it can't work. You never hear anyone say, okay, let's take a look at it and see if it makes sense, if it's feasible.
And, the idea, again, that because we're small, we're limited in some way. Because we are small, we have a unique advantage of seeing the fruits of our labor quicker. If you implement, so like you put one overhead driveway or one, multi-level parking lot in a country like Trinidad and Jamaica that's bigger, it may take some time to notice the impact. If you put an overhead driveway, say, in Bastia, you're going to notice the impact right away. So, I mean, sometimes we have to shift, as you said, stop being so defeatist and negative, and shift and look at the advantage of every situation. The fact that we're small, we should be able to tackle our problems and get the results quicker. We don't have to wait 20 years to see the result of a social campaign or impact. We just see it in saying you see it in a few months. So we should be paying attention more, and not just, again, the politicians, because I over that. I'm over that.
Don't get me started on the politicians.
I'm like, we need to decide what we want as a people, and we need to be more vocal. You know, if tourism is not doing it for us the way that it used to, we need to be more vocal, and we need to come with our own suggestions, you know. Don't wait for people to tell you.
It's not like we don't, though, because we do, and a lot of time they don't listen to us.
But we need to come with it in a more organized way and not in teams. We tend to come, but because, well, he would agree with me, he agreed with me for, you know, he said such and such and such.
You so just at the point. I like the way you. I like that. Just so that was.
We
nice.
need to not always have these teams. We need to, you know, have one team and come and have these discussions, because it benefits us. Because before we leave, and I always say this, the people, while we are complaining, there are two levels of living in St. Kitts. Most of us who are locals, we're struggling, we're complaining. Most of the people who are coming here, they don't want to leave, because you know what they tell us? It's so much opportunity here, and we can't see it.
I remember a Nigerian one time said to me, she said, what? This was during elections. I think it might have been the 2015 election when Team Unity won. Leading up to that election, she was saying, I don't know what you guys are complaining about. In Nigeria, at least you have electricity. In Nigeria, half the time we don't have electricity, and the roads need fixing. And and I said to her, well, no, we know it could be a lot better. That's why we're complaining. I mean, this has nothing to do with Nigeria. I mean, that's what you guys have. That's what you guys put up with. It has nothing to do with us. We know things can be a lot better here. You know, which is why we complain. You know,
but we can't just complain, though. We have to complaining without action, without, you know, self-analysis. Because I tell them, the politicians we have, they're not Nigerian, they're not European, they're not Middle Eastern, they are Kittitian. So if our leaders are not giving us what we want, if we have a certain problem that keeps recurring with every leader, then we have to look at ourselves, because they're coming from amongst us.
Exactly.
We're creating them.
And we're the ones that keep voting for these people.
Exactly.
We turn around and complain about.
So them, so us.
Exactly.
Because there is a universal concept that you attract what you are, not what you want. So if we keep getting these type of politicians, maybe that's the type of people we are. We need to look at ourselves.
I always find there's a disconnect with this thing where people say, like some people like to talk about, it's, you know, when the question of, let's say U.S. foreign policy, that's the government, but it's not the American people. Or we don't have a problem with the Chinese people. It's the Chinese government, but maybe the China one is not such a good example. But the politicians that run the U.S., for example, the politicians that run St. Kitts come out of the people. So you can't say that you at least you have to give some credence to the idea that, like what you just said, we are responsible for the people that we elect.
have to pay more attention to what they are doing, and be more honest. And stop choosing these sides. Pay attention. You live in a country and don't know what's going on. We have to pay attention. If you hire a man to manage your business and you don't even go in your business once, when your business go bankrupt, can you just blame him?
You have to blame yourself.
Exactly. That's my thing for 2024. I don't know if people receive it that well, but I'm like, we can do better as a people as well. Because if you're calling out to the same people saying, Lord, help me, and they're helping you, you're going dead, or you're going to find a way to help yourself. That's my thing. So
okay.
Thank you so much.
On that note, 4 minutes after 10 o'clock, so we're going to be shutting it off.
Yes, it was wonderful today.
It was nice hanging out with you. So we'll see you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. I have a technical breadfruit chip cooking question for you after we come off.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
No
Okay,
problem.
folks, that's going to do it for Island Tea for today. We will see you tomorrow at 8.
Tea time, calling night, noon and morning. Tasty biscuit, just can't resist it. Tea